Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of eXp Realty.
Welcome to Treasure Coast Community Health. We have 8 locations to serve you better. Our staff is dedicated to help you and your family. Here's your host, Vicki Soule.
Good afternoon and welcome to Community Conversations. It's a pleasure to be here again, week after week, bringing you folks that you may encounter in the community. Maybe you want to know a little bit more about the organizations they represent. Maybe you're a newcomer to Vero and haven't yet experienced some of the wonderful organizations that make up the fabric of our great community. So today we have Shelly Ferger here from Dogs for Life. I read Shelly's bio, and it appears that she and I both started around the same time as executive directors, which puts us more than a decade. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, thank you, Vicki.
Experience, that's all I'll say. But Shelly, you actually started working with animals way before you were named the executive director of Dogs for Life. Can you kind of back up that bio a little bit and tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you happen to be in the dog training business?
Well, I guess I'll thank you first for having us on, Vicki.
My pleasure.
Anytime we can get the word out about Dogs for Life in our programs and services, we're honored to do that. I'll go back to when I was a kid and I had a dog, and he seemed like he was the only one that ever understood me. So as time went on, I think I just kind of gravitated. Originally, it started as a police dispatcher. I was commenting on how I never shut up and I love the radio, but it's probably from those experiences there. But then when I worked through law enforcement, I ended up at the state attorney's office, and there was a horse cruelty case, and the Humane Society came through with that. And I said to the director at the time, I said, what many positions at the Humane Society? I thought it would be interesting to work there and be around dogs and animals and cats. And so I was hired to help with that cruelty case. And that was a 5-year venture that was interesting, not at all what I had planned, but it did get me into screening dogs for an organization back then that was looking at shelter dogs for hearing dogs. So when the opportunity came up years later to start a nonprofit training service dogs, I had some experience working with people with disabilities. And it just became a natural, because from Humane Society, I went to the Environmental Learning Center and learned a lot about nonprofits and fundraising. And then back all those decades ago, there was only only one other dog trainer in town. So I ended up able to open a dog training center downtown for 9 years. And that's what kind of built up the off-leash play groups and more obedience training, which all kind of was a segue, of course, into Dogs for Life in the off-leash dog park. And so it was one of those things that I believe was meant to be.
It's amazing in retrospection how you see the various places that you go in your employment, in your personal life, and how it's all preparation for
Absolutely.
What ultimately seems to have been the plan right along.
And I'm grateful for all those experiences. They weren't always the best at the time, but it did prepare me, as you said, to work, being able to temperament test dogs for service dog work and hearing dogs, and the off-leash play groups that prepared me for the off-leash dog park at Dogs for Life. And so, it's been a real blessing.
Well, I'm going to back up the train a little bit, too, in that when I think about trained dogs, having come from Michigan, where they are really working a lot with the visually impaired, when I hear Dogs for Life, I have to correct myself mentally that that's not your focal area. What is?
Hearing dogs. Hearing dogs are our specialty. We train 4 sounds: the door knock, the doorbell, the telephone ringing, and the smoke alarm. And then, of course, they can be cross-trained for other types of sounds. Once a dog understands their owner does not hear, then they will alert them to sounds that they haven't been trained for. It's a lot like the PTSD commands. When people are emotionally disturbed or upset, the dogs tend to well, they absolutely pick up on that, and the tasks are trained to mitigate the condition, but then the dogs, it takes a life of its own, and it's a pheromone, and it's your, not only your behavior, but your body odor, and that the dog picks up on. So that's why they're so easy to train, because if you just show them what you want, and repetition, and the bond and relationship between the person and dog, it's just what we call the magic and the miracle. It just happens when you put that time in. So yes, the bar is very high for guide dogs for the blind. And although hearing dogs are life-saving as well, we have a lot more flexibility with the different temperaments of dog that we can use. We do train dogs that people already own. If you live in Indian River or St. Lucie County and you have a hearing disability, or if you've got some balance issues where you need a dog to help stabilize on your feet or pick up things that you drop, then mobility is our secondary.
Well, that's really good to know.
Third is the PTSD for the veterans.
So when you talk about training dogs that are already owned, is there a particular age limit? I mean, if you have a dog that's 5 or 6 or
That's a
plus.
good question. We try to work somewhere between a year and 2 to 3 years. We want as much longevity. The training process takes about a year, depending on, again, the age of the dog. If it's a puppy, it takes a lot longer. We are fortunate enough to belong to a breeding co-op through Assistance Dog International that accreditates us, and we are getting a lot of our dogs that are service dog bloodline bred. So they are the working dogs, the labs, but it doesn't take them 5 years to mature. They, about 9-10 months, they breed out the prey drive, and they've got a work ethic, but not quite as hyper as the traditional lab. Although the #1 dog in the world, it takes them a long time to mature. But we've are able to get a couple of those dogs a year. But if someone comes to us and they have a disability, diagnosed disability that we train, and they live in our 2-county area, and the dog has the temperament to do the work to mitigate the disability. For example, a balanced dog traditionally is a larger dog that can help stabilize, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be as long as it can pick up small objects. But a hearing dog obviously can't be afraid of sounds. If the smoke alarm goes off, it has to work and not hide under the bed. So,
and likewise, you know, I hear a lot about dogs that have to have their owner be there if it starts to thunder or lightning. Yeah,
that's anxiety is one of the worst. We were just talking about the mental health condition of people and society right now, and it affects dogs as well. So you've got a lot of dogs that have a lot of anxiety, and that doesn't make for a good combination when you have anxiety and you need a dog to help with that, or the sound work, because you need a dog that's stable to be able to do that work. So an owned dog is really the best if the owner and dog have a good relationship and the dog is stable and can do the work. I love to get dogs in that are owned by their owners, because it accelerates the process for us. We can turn a dog around in 6 months if it's an adult and it's had a little bit of obedience, and the owner and dog have a good relationship and their training's been done with positive reinforcement. Those are really, really easy. But the puppies that we get and raise, they take a good 1.5 to 2 years to certify.
It's sort of like you'd want to get them when they're primed for learning and have a little bit of maturity.
True.
So the folks that often would need it for hearing are those that are older folks. Is there an age limit for the humans as opposed to
no
dogs?
Age limit on the human, although we don't train with children, because you have to be able to train your own dog. So you do have to be mobile enough to be able to train your own dog. You have to commit to coming to our training center once a week, which is why we only handle the 2-county area. And it's almost a year. So over that period of time, the dog learns all of their obedience that they need to be able to go into public places, and the owner learns how to handle them properly and how to answer questions in public. Is that a pet or a service dog? And what's legal and what's not. And then the task work is what's the most important part of that. The disability is the first part of the law, and the second part is that the dog is task trained to mitigate the disability.
Well, that is really interesting work, I have to say. How many people do you have under training conditions at any given time?
Right now we have 50 in our program.
That's
and
a
then
lot.
we have 75 to 100 volunteers that help at Dogs for Life. We have 200 dogs that are members of the dog park. We do charge a membership fee of $100 for dogs that are inoculated, neutered, and social to join the park. But our services for our clients are at no charge. And we're very fortunate to be able to offer that with the generosity of our donors, of course.
And if someone wanted to volunteer, how would they go about that? Again,
well, most people want to volunteer to interact with dogs.
not
and
cats
there's
or
not
horses.
a whole lot of opportunity. However, we do have an apprentice program. It takes 2 years to go through, so you could eventually get there if you were committed and wanted to put in the time. We have some reception volunteers that help and volunteers that help with special projects and fundraising. We're located on the corner of 12th Street and 16th Avenue. We also have a dog park ambassador program for people that join the dog park where they can learn more about behavior and help new people who join with their dogs identify behaviors and get to know each other and what are compatible dogs for their dog to play with. So it's a nice little hub. It's a nice little social opportunity for a lot of people, and as well as training and learning about dog behavior. We've got a lot of videos on our website.
Really?
If anyone wanted to visit the Dogs for Life website, www.dogs4life, spelt out FOR, and then the letters VB is in VeroBeach.org, where you can always learn more about the organization.
Wow, I'm just amazed at the things I'm hearing. But unfortunately, we're going to have to take a break, listen to our sponsors, and then we'll be right back, and I'll ask another question we'll take off on.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shelly. Many women forego their own health care, giving their time to family and friends. And some forego health care for financial reasons, with not enough income for basic necessities and their own medical needs. I'm Vicki Soule, CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health, and I'm giving in honor of my mom, who taught me the value of early cancer detection. Join me in gifting healthcare to women. Visit tcchinc.org and donate to honor the women in your life.
Revive Vero Beach, located next to Anytime Fitness on Oslo Road and 27th Avenue, has everything you need to look and feel your best, including hormone replacement therapy, stem cell therapy, sexual wellness, weight loss, laser aesthetics, hair, tattoo, and skin spot removal, Botox and fillers, cryotherapy, comprehensive blood work, and everybody's favorite, ozone and IV therapy. Refresh, renew, and revitalize yourself at Revive today. Call 772-492-6607. A member of the iTex trading community. Your iTex dollars are welcome.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats, and chairs, including lots of slipcover styles from Universal, Four Seasons, and Capri. We also have a gallery of Tommy Bahama and Lexington furniture with styles designed for a relaxed approach to the finer things in life. Right now, we're having a summer sale with lots of great markdowns, including all pictures, lamps, and accessories half price. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in Vero Beach next to Planet Fitness. Family owned and operated since 1991. Don't forget to visit our outlet and closeout store directly across the street and visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day. Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
And welcome back to Community Conversations. If you're just joining us, my name is Vicki Soule. I'm the CEO of Treasure Coast Community Health. And we give primary medical, dental, behavioral health, x-ray, lab, pharmaceuticals. We're kind of like the Walmart of healthcare in that we really try to make things very convenient for you. One-stop shopping so that, again, once you've given the information, you don't have to give it 16 different times in the same 3-week period. And our goal is obviously to make you as healthy as possible. But as we learn things, we have learned that health is not only a top to bottom kind of thing, but it is supported by a lot of socioeconomic considerations. And dogs, cats, and other pets are a part of that. So this week we have Shelly Ferger here from Dogs for Life. We're just exploring some of the programs and things that they have going with them. Thank you for noting that the location is at 12th and 16th, so it's really central Vero Beach. But you take care of individuals and their pets, their dogs, I should say, all the way from Indian River County down into St. Lucie County. How did that come about?
Well, as we mentioned before, we're small and we're not producing service dogs like a lot of larger organizations do. Mm-hmm. We don't have a breeding program or a kennel where we pre-train. So distance was important, that if someone wanted to train their own dog, or we were able to place one that we were able to bring from our queue, that they be able to come to us once a week. And because Brevard County is so large and long,
yes,
and there is a large veteran population in Port St. Lucie, that we would go to the south. And that's pretty much where we've been since 2002 when we were founded. And so that's geographically. And then, if you're just over the line on one or the other, like Barefoot Bay or Palm Bay, and you're able to make that commitment to come to us once a week, then for that year period, then we'll fudge a little bit. But
that sounds a little bit like Treasure Coast Community Health. Technically, our service area is only Indian River County, but the reality is we turn no one away. So we do have close to 15% of our people come from either Brevard County or St. Lucie County for the services that we render, and that's fine. But it is a little difficult to explain at times how that came to be. So one of the things that occurred to me was you personally had spent some time as an employee at the Humane Society. Do you get a lot of referrals from them, or are more of them coming actually from the various veterans associations?
I think most of our referrals come from veteran organizations. We've been a member of the Veterans Council for many years, and I think they've got many organizations that belong to them, so we're able to get the word out to the veteran community through the council. And we get a lot of support. Different veteran organizations hold fundraisers for us and are involved in our program, so we're very happy about that. We mentioned before about the temperament of dog being so important, and that we have a stable dog. We did rescue a dog. He actually hadn't made it to the shelter yet, but his name was Bentley, and he was a big Galoop Labrador Retriever. And I had him in my home for several months, and one day we were doing some retrieving work with him at the center, and one day I'm just so tired of bending down and getting that bowl out of the crate, and I said, Bentley, why don't you pick up that bowl for me and bring it? And he picked it up. I'm like, he knew it the whole time, and I didn't even realize that he knew how to pick up his bowl. But you do find those diamonds in the rough, but it's difficult to rehabilitate a dog that's been through who knows what, as we were talking about earlier. And then we're working with some rescue groups that do take dogs and put them into foster housing and start doing some obedience work with them and training. So I'll always have a place in my heart for rescue dogs. And but the service dog bloodline that we've tapped into through Assistance Dog International, I'm ruined.
Primarily labs.
I'm ruined. I mean, they just, when they breed out the prey drive and they have that stable temperament and they're easygoing and their health is good. We don't have to worry about any unseen health problems when you get a dog. You don't know their background. Right. And so I see a long
And they're fairly long-lived as well, are they not? 15 plus years?
It's probably more like 14 is about the average age for most large dogs, but you never know. I mean, gosh, we're talking about a blue heeler the other day. I think it was living into its 20s, which I said, that's got to be my next dog. I don't want to outlive my next dog.
So you said earlier, though, that the primary training that you do is for hearing loss. Now, I'm trying to connect that with the veterans referrals. Is that...
Well, what's interesting with the veteran referrals is a lot of them are younger. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of, you assume the elderly, have more of a hearing loss, but the military, a lot of those dogs are cross-trained. They're trained for hearing, mobility, and PTSD. So if you've got the right dog, you can cross-train for those three disabilities, which is, phenomenal. But anyone who, and hearing loss is different for everyone. And so there's tone deafness. You might be able to understand me sitting here talking, but if the smoke alarm goes off, you don't hear it.
Because it's higher pitched.
Or you have loss in one ear and not the other. And so if you're sleeping on the good ear, you don't hear. So the hearing dogs are trained to physically make contact with their owners and then lead them to the sound. And then, for example, if it's a door knock or the doorbell, they sit at the front door. If it's the smoke alarm, they spin. So the owner knows what sound is occurring based on the behavior of the dog. And, of course, the alarm clock is the easiest one because they just jump in the bed and wake them up. They don't have to go anywhere. So it's very targeted so that there's no question, and once a dog is trained to do something and they've been rewarded and they've done it over and over again, that's why dogs are so wonderful and predictable, because they will do what they're trained to do and what they've done through repetition, which is great when it's a good thing and not so great when they've been conditioned to jump or to be mouthy and those kind of things that people do unknowingly, that what you do as a puppy is what you're going to have when they're a year old. So it's a big dog. You have to be careful.
Yeah, it's like our children,
Yes, ma'am.
What you train them when they're little carries through those first couple of years. So we've got a number of people that are coming then from various organizations. Do you find that, and this is a little awkward to ask, but the individual that's working with the dog is generally not single, I'm assuming. They have a spouse and children. Do you have some training for them, or?
Well, interesting you should say that, because in one way we have to say to the other family members, butt out. But then they have to sign an agreement that they'll be part of a support system.
Okay.
So it's a balance.
Okay.
And in Dogland, wherever the food is coming from, or opportunity, or treats, or attention, is most likely where the dog's going to gravitate. And so it's important, especially with post-traumatic stress, that the dog is into the person and not out playing in the yard with the kids when the person needs them. So that's very important that be understood by the whole family. There's even little books written on Daddy's dog and to help children understand, which is, I think, when it's explained to them in a way that they understand Daddy needs a dog or Mommy needs a dog, they get it because they understand that already. And but there are some people who just can't get out of bed that morning, or they can't follow through with the dog or do what they need to do with the dog. So it's important that they have a support system, even if it's not a spouse or family, that they've got groups, which it brings me to the support groups at Dogs for Life. I think for the past 3 years, started out one night a week with post-traumatic stress meetings for veterans, and now has grown to 2 nights a week. And then there's also a support group for women and first responders. I think the first and third Wednesdays. So if you're interested in post-traumatic stress or the female support group, contact Dogs for Life, and we'll give you some more information. It's Mondays and Thursdays at 7 for the veteran group. That's male or female.
And is there a fee associated with it?
No, there is not. It's
Didn't think
it's
it
all
was,
sponsored. Sponsored through Dogs for Life. American Gold Star Mother helps sponsor that program. Next Generation Veterans and the Mental Health Association. We all partner together to offer those free
And all the
groups.
dogs lay at their owner's feet?
Not everyone has a dog.
Okay.
Our clients do attend the meetings, but mostly it's just the public, the general public of veterans that are looking for a place for support. We have veteran facilitators. So even the woman that facilitates through MHA is a veteran. And so they're able to connect and have that support. They're licensed therapist, and
therapist,
so they've got every,
Well,
and then
thank
there's
you very
referral
much.
systems there as well too.
I do appreciate that. We provide mental health services, but as you commented when we took the break, it seems to be in waves, and it was interesting that you used that because a wave can be gentle, but more often than not, we think of a wave as potentially drowning us, and the mental health issues after COVID, with all the political unrest, with 1,000 different reasons, our coping abilities as humans is not as high as it was in other days.
And Vicki, I mentioned when we first started, when I was a kid, and how I felt like my dog was my best friend. it's just something that you just can't get anywhere else. You can't get it out of a bottle. You can't get it out of medication.
So
you can't get it from other people.
We're going to be cut off momentarily. I want to thank you again for absolutely Dogs for Life. You're in the phone book.
Thank you.
They don't have any more.
Google
Google Dogs for Life. Thanks, Shelly.